Let's head straight into the BNSN lens conversation that we had set up. It was meant to be a light-hearted sort of a start to the Friday show, Kunal as well as Sharmila. We were going to be speaking about something that a lot of people will focus on the weekend, which is on liquor, but of course we're speaking about liquor stocks. And why don't I toss it straight to you? I think, Kunal, yesterday when we were speaking, you said one of the counters that you thought was a good trade was McDowell's, if I'm not mistaken. What do you have to say as far as the short-term trends for liquor stocks is concerned?
Alex, so many of these liquor stocks, they were doing fabulously well since the last 1.5 or 2 weeks. In fact, a comparative analysis of the sugars of the liquor stocks indicates that there were the mid-cap ones like GM Breweries as well as Globus Spirits. They had outperformed significantly higher, and there was a catch-up play amongst the other large cap peers or amongst the other stocks from the sector like United Spirits and United Breweries. So I think on the back of it, there was a lot of expectations that these stocks will continue to do well. But then in a market situation like this, it's bound to be that many of these stocks which have been holding on to their grounds, they are the ones which also try to cave in, because there is a lot of MTM filling, mark-to-market filling, as well as dropping of positions and margin selling, which happens into stocks. So I think in that aspect, stocks like United Spirits are also seeing a bit of a corrective phase. But I think once these corrections, once the correction stabilizes in the markets and trading resumes into more of a normal trajectory, then I believe many of these stocks which have very strong chart trends, they would make a strong comeback. United Spirits was a stock which we discussed even yesterday as well, and it looks fairly attractive to me on the longer term charts because it's given a huge breakout on the monthly charts, and something which the stock had been waiting for since the last 3-4 years. So finally that breakout seems to have occurred for United Spirits, and which is why we were discussing the stock yesterday, and I mentioned that how the longer term prospects could be far more better for the stock from going forward.
Take of that's Kunal's take on United Spirits, saying it looks attractive over the longer term. But Sharmila, coming to you, one of the reasons why we're discussing liquor stocks is also not because it's Friday, because we've seen a massive rally come across most of these counters. But do you think fundamentally are they well poised over the longer term? What's your take coming in on these liquor stocks?
Yes, interestingly, a couple of weeks back, I was having this discussion with somebody who's sort of in the business and the distributor network. And the surprising thing for me was that though in this lockdown, in the current lockdown, we've had delivery of alcohol allowed, their sales have actually been lower as compared to last year. So last year when we came out of the lockdown, if you remember, in the first part of the lockdown, alcohol was not allowed to be delivered. So they saw a huge sort of pent-up demand, and sales for them really took off. And this I'm talking of in sort of the lower value brands. So as compared to that, in fact, they are lower. They're doing lower sales at this point in time in the lockdown, which was sort of surprising for them, because they would have assumed that they would at least clock the same amount of sales, maybe not more, but the same amount of sales. So that has not been the story this time. Maybe because the second wave was far more severe, and we've had higher deaths, etc. So that said, I'm sort of bullish on the space, because I think that there is huge potential here. As I said, not just in sort of the lower ticket items, but even in the higher ticket, in other consumptions like beer, wine, etc. I think given our demographics and our overall preferences, there is going to be a shift and preference for maybe towards all these other alcoholic drinks as well. So the stock I like within the space is Radico Khaitan. So maybe in the near term I would be a little because growth is sort of expected to be muted. But the long term I think still stays very strong for a stock like Radico.
All right, that's the view coming in. Sharmila also on the liquor stocks as well as Radico Khaitan. But let's take a look at what the Nifty is doing after dipping below that 15,500 levels. It's actually paired some of those losses, but still down over 1% coming in for Nifty. It's at around 15,512 levels. Definitely weak market breadth. Markets are looking weak. But on that note, we'll slip into a break in this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. And when we come back, we'll come back with your queries, so don't go anywhere.